In this video, we are going to talk about the Spanish Star Model B, and this is an early one, manufactured in the 40s. And also I'd like to mention this reference book that I use, that if you're really serious about collecting star pistols, it's a very large book and a very expensive book. If you're really serious, this is something that you should get, this reference book. I know it's expensive, but it does give an in-depth explanation, the history behind these guns and the development. And other than towards the end, the records are there for the serial number lookup of guns like this, where I can get a year of manufacture. But before we get into it, if you would please, hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment, and if you could, become a member. It helps out the channel a lot. The Star Company out of Spain has a long history in manufactured pistols in different varieties and calibers for many years. What it did do for its military and police forces, it kind of started developing, and there were several models. The Model 20, 21, 22, 31, and eventually the Model 40. All these different models, variations and modifications, by the time 1940 rolled around, they ended up with a pistol that looks an awful lot like a Browning 1911. Okay? It is different than a 1911, but it field strips, disassembles, and operates the same as a 1911. They ended up with two models. Their Model A's were in 9mm Largo, and they designated the Model B, so they could tell the difference more or less, are in 9mm Parabellum or 9mm Luger. And the Model B, in this designation like this, there were modifications to this gun over the years, but it stayed in production until the 80s. Even though they had the Supers, which is a different system than the swinging link system of the old Browning 1911, they still manufactured something like this gun. They were Bs and then BSs. The S standard for a magazine safety. That came along in the 60s, 70s, and they manufactured the BSs until, like I said, until the 80s. So pretty prolific design. And this one here, I got it in an auction, and I'm going to make a video talking about the current state. I know I've made a lot of them talking about just gun values, but how the mill surplus market, it's not reacting the same as the commercial or new production guns or sporting guns, however you want to look at it. The mill surplus market is still quite different, but in these times of economic uncertainty, there are some strange things, and this is one of them, and I'll tell the story behind how I got this at an auction, online auction. Now, the reason I wanted this pistol is because when Spain was allied with Germany, or Germany intervened in the Spanish Civil War, and they realized war was coming to Europe again, they had the Model A, and they figured, you know what, we should make a similar model in 9mm, because that's what a lot of the European forces were using. And they did sell these to the Germans, to Bulgaria, and several other nations purchased these guns during the war. And the slides used to be marked a 9mm Largo. They'll say 9mm/38. That designated 9mm Largo. So what they did during the war is on the barrel, they put that caliber .08 on there. That way you would know that this is for the .08, which is the designation for the German Luger. You would know that this is a 9mm parabellum caliber gun. And this one here has wooden grips. And the reason I got this, and I checked with the book the dates for this gun. And this gun was manufactured in 1945. Exactly what month, I don't know. But I doubt very much that it was issued. It was probably manufactured and sold post-war. Now to take a look at it. And like I said, this thing functions just like a 1911. So if you know how to use a 1911, it has the mag release in the same spot, button mag release. Has the slide release, thumb safety, too a little stiff. But it has its thumb safety on there. Standard sights, like a 1911, and field strips the same way that a 1911 does, identical. This version does not have a grip safety, or a magazine safety, and it does not have a grip safety. Okay, even though this thing is kind of structured like a 1911, that's just kind of like for show. Now the thing about the magazines is this older style gun has this magazine with a tab where you had to have this cut out down in the frame for it to lock in there. And sometime in the 50s, late 50s, they still called it the Model B, but they changed it to where it would have a normal flush mount magazine. So that little milled notch in the frame was gone. This is an older style B magazine with that little, they call it the keyway or whatever, that little finger on there on the end. And also I've noticed that something about this mag, the spring or something, is extremely powerful for this. So the magazine isn't perfect. I may have to get a replacement. But that's about it. We'll get up close here and we'll take a look at some of the markings, but more on the history. So, like I said, then when these are manufactured with a magazine safety, then they would have the designation, and the designation on all of these guns is down here on the heel. As you see the B, it would be BS. Okay, means it has a mag safety. And there are BMs, which are the police short barrel versions. And this does have a half cock notch in the hammer, much like a 1911. So whatever you do with the US GI 1911, you can do with one of these pistols. Now we'll take a look at the different markings. They're all on this side. We have a proof mark here on the slide. You have the scroll, and there were different scrolls on this during the war. You got the symbol for star, and this has this particular wording, caliber 9mm. Here's our import mark. There's a couple proof marks. This must have been refinished because some of these marks here you can't see that well, and another crown with a P down here. The thing about these you have to watch out for is, I wanted one of these, and the price did go up for a time. They went up upwards to almost half a K, 500 units for the ones with the wooden handles, and later on the later ones would not be made with wooden grips. They would be made with a plastic grip of some sort. And a bunch of these went to Bulgaria, and that's where that book comes in handy. Okay, they went and stamped these pistols with the German acceptance mark, I believe, on the guns that came out of Bulgaria. And I've seen people pay upwards close to 1K for these examples, and they're fakes, is what they are. The Germans never accepted them. That's where the book, the reference book, comes in handy. You can double check the serial numbers and not end up overpaying for a piece that is not correct as far as collectors go. And that's pretty important. And the shipment of these guns, it's also covered in the book, that didn't make it to Germany, the last shipment of them, which were post-war sent to the West German government, is a totally different pistol, and the serial number range has numerous different markings on the gun because they were used by the police force in West Germany, which, you have to know your collectible firearms, and that book helps out a lot. Where that fake acceptance stamp, I believe, would be put was in this area right around in here on the frame. And that was done somewhere post-war, because they weren't selling, and they stamped them. The fake stamp was placed on there so they could try to sell them for more money, and more as a collector's item, but be wary. And like I said, that's where the book helps out on that an awful lot. And there we have it. Our Star Model B 1940s production pistol, filling a hole in my Star collection. I will make a video. I did take this out and put some rounds through it. The bore's halfway decent, but down by the throat of the chamber, you can see a little bit of pitting from the use of corrosive ammo, but the gun does shoot fine. I will also make a video discussing how I acquired this on an online auction, and also discuss the current state of the mill surplus market as I have found in my own experience. Alright, thank you and stay tuned.